I watched 76 new releases in 2024, so we're gonna rank all of them. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe if you like these kind of videos, but sit back, relax, and let's talk about some movies. We're not gonna talk too long about each movie, we're just gonna say a few things and then move on. In 76, we have Madam Web, the worst movie of the year and one of the worst movies that I've ever seen in my life. Bland, boring, horrible, should not have been made. It is like insane how bad this movie is. In 75th, I have the new Netflix Jennifer Lopez action movie Atlas, a horrible AI story that follows Jennifer Lopez's character and how she's growing a friendship with this AI system, and it's just horrible throughout the entire thing. The only thing it has going for it is some pretty good special effects, but other than that, this movie is garbage. Next, I have Sasquatch Sunset, easily the most disturbed I've ever been in a movie theater. It is awful, horrible story. I like the premise, but they really didn't do much with the premise, and it was awful. I'll say again, IGN, are you okay? You gave this a 10 out of 10. I need to know if you're okay. In 73rd, I have Dear Santa. Terrible Christmas movie, maybe one of the worst I've ever seen. It's awful. I mean, just the only good fun part was the parts with Post Malone, but everything else was very bad. 72, I have Megalopolis. This movie is a train wreck from start to finish. I respect Francis Ford Coppola's vision. I think in some parts the movie does look cool, but overall way too artsy. There's terrible acting, terrible dialogue. It is almost unwatchable. In 71st place, I have Drive Away Dolls, a super disappointing movie that I was expecting so much more from it, and I left the theater very, very, very disappointed. Just weird, way too horny for me, I guess. It was just like, why is any of this in this movie? In 70th place, I have The Crow. How can Bill Skarsgård put in one of the better performances of the year while also having one of the worst performances of the year? He was terrible in this movie. The movie is also just a horrible remake of an original classic. It sucks. The gore is not there. It's poorly edited, terrible cinematography, terrible shot composition. I was so bored in the theater watching this. In 69th place, I have Hot Frosty. Is that a funny number placement for this movie? Hell yeah. In 68th, I have Kraven the Hunter. Just another horrible Spider-Man spin-off Sony movie. It's the last one. It's rated R, so I thought the R rating would, be its saving grace, but it really didn't do anything for it. There was some good gore, but overall, very disappointing. Horrible dialogue, horrible acting, not a good movie. In 67th, I have another Christmas movie from this year, Red One. So disappointing. One of the worst Christmas movies that I've ever seen. So bland, yet so big. It has such a big budget, and there's so much going on, but it's so bland and unoriginal and so boring. In 66th, I have Here, the new Robert Zemeckis film that people have been calling Forrest Gump 2. And I feel like that is the only marketing that this movie had going for it for people to actually go to the theater and see it. And people still didn't go to the theater and see it. So I think it was very lame that they were really marketing this as Forrest Gump 2, because first off, it is not. I don't care if it's the same two main characters that are in Forrest Gump that are also in this movie. This was a very boring film, had some pretty interesting ideas, would have been a much better short film, or would have just been better to follow one family throughout the entire thing. And instead, it had a lot of subplots that didn't make any sense, and overall, just was very disappointing. In 65th, I have In a Violent Nature, a pretty interesting premise in which we follow the killer throughout the entire movie, but oh my gosh, they actually follow the killer throughout the entire movie. I mean, there are literally sequences in which we are watching this person, or whatever entity, this horror villain, basically Jason Voorhees, walking through a forest for 10 plus minutes, and it's just like, oh my gosh, what am I watching? I mean, I could hear the Foley. I could hear the Foley artists. It was that quiet. I could hear them crunching the leaves in a sound studio, and I was like getting so pulled out of it. The only thing this movie had going for it was the kills. Kills were actually pretty damn awesome. In 64th place, I have Afraid. Easily the worst horror movie of the year. I mean, it's derivative, it's unoriginal, it's just another AI movie that tries to tell us the bad parts of AI, but the irony is that it feels like it was written by AI, and it has one of the worst titles of the year that I've ever even witnessed. Afraid. I mean, they only called it that because there's AI in the name, and then they highlight it in red in the movie poster. What a piece of shit. In 63rd, I have Ricky Stenicki. I think a lot of people are not going to agree with me on this one. I think most people actually found this to be funny. I personally didn't find it to be funny at all. I think John Cena is the best part. I think any part that he was in was funny. I like Andrew Santino. I think he's a funny dude. I like his podcast, but not that good in the movie. He's not that bad of an actor, but everything else just was not funny, and I regret watching it. John Cena is funny, though. In 62nd place is the first movie that I actually watched this year. That's Self-Reliance. Now, it's directed by Jake Johnson, who was in New Girl. I love Jake Johnson. But the movie just was not entertaining. I liked the trailer. I think it had a pretty interesting premise and plot, but it really just, it didn't go anywhere. I just felt like I was just watching the same thing every minute, and it was just getting like way too boring. So I didn't really like it. I understand if people did like it though. In 61st, I have Roadhouse, a remake of a classic that is a badass movie. But the new Roadhouse movie, I think a lot of people did like it, but honestly, I just found it to be just another bad, like remake and just a retelling of a story. Apparently there's going to be a Roadhouse 2. Not sure Conor McGregor is going to be in it, if you know what I mean, but it was just not good. The CGI was weird. It's another movie with Post Malone. He was barely in it though. It's always fun to see Post Malone pop up in movies, but he wasn't that good in it for the moments that he was in it, but Roadhouse, not good. In 60th place, I have The Beekeeper. Now, The Beekeeper is entertaining. It was not a bad movie at all. I think that Jason Statham is in the same movie every single movie that he's in, and I think he plays the same character. I mean, people say that The Rock plays the same character. Jason Statham is the same character in every single. I'm convinced that every movie that he's in is just a sequel to the last. But it's fine. It's a fine movie. It's directed by the same guy that directed Fury. I love Fury. This is definitely not near as good as Fury, but it's a fine movie. In 59th, I have Spaceman. Honestly, another disappointing movie. I was expecting a lot more from it. It's Adam Sandler in space while he's really just adventuring through his thoughts and his marriage, and he comes across this tarantula played by Paul Dano, and it's supposed to be sad and it's supposed to be emotional, but it never really got to that point where it was hitting me to that point where I thought I was emotional and I wanted to love it more. But at the end of the day, it just was not that good of a movie. In 58th, I have Maxine, another very, very, very disappointing movie. I actually just do not like this movie at all. It's higher on this list because structurally and as far as just being a movie, it is better than the ones that I've mentioned previously, but I still just did not like Maxine at all. It's such a weird and upsetting way that this is how they ended the trilogy, because I wasn't the biggest fan of X. I really liked Pearl, and I wanted there to be some sort of ending that was either going to be better than Pearl or just better or better than X, but this was worse than X. It was just not good. Waste of my time, bad plot twist, bad characters, did not like it at all. In 57th, I have the raunchy high school Netflix movie Incoming. Surprisingly, I had a really nice time with it. It was funny. I watched it expecting it to just be almost unwatchable, and a lot of people were saying that it was bad, but there were moments where I was just cracking up. Like, it was funny. I think the kids did a good job, or the actors did a good job with their line delivery, and I think it was overall a really funny time. Not a great movie. It's kind of cute. You have that that boy girl relationship kind of plot, and it's just it's overdone and reused, but I had a fine time with this. Not terrible, but it's not a good movie, but it's a fine movie. In 56th, I have Joker Folie à Deux. Very disappointing. After a second rewatch, I liked it more, but I still just do not like it pretty much at all. It's still okay. I think it has good cinematography. I do like the set pieces. I don't like how they incorporated the musical numbers into the story. It just did not make any sort of sense to me. I think Joaquin Phoenix is still good. I think Lady Gaga was underutilized, especially in her singing. She really didn't sing a whole lot in the movie. They had Joaquin Phoenix do all the singing. Still hate the ending. I think it's the worst part of the movie. And just a very disappointing movie. I think if I rewatched it, I can enjoy it, and I wouldn't be like, why am I watching this? But it's still not that good. Next, I have Brothers. Brothers is a movie that just did not hit. I like the trailer. I thought it looked funny. Brendan Fraser is the best part of it. He's very funny. I really want to see him in more serious roles because when he was in The Whale and he won that Oscar, just Brendan Fraser is awesome. But movie, just not good. In 54th, I have Abigail, a fine horror movie. I mean, it's directed by the same people that did the recent Scream movies. They also did Ready or Not. It felt a lot more like Ready or Not, but Ready or Not is just, a little bit better. I'm not as big of a fan of Ready or Not that a lot of people are. But Abigail is just, it's a vampire, a horror movie. Definitely a different, it's more interesting. It's different than any like vampire films that we get. But just, a fine movie. In 54th, I have It Ends With Us. There was a lot of controversy around this movie when it came out, and there's even more controversy about this movie now. We're not going to talk about that, but I had just read the book with my girlfriend like a couple months before we went to go see the movie, and the book is okay. The book is good. I don't like the second book, but the movie was all right. The movie was fine. There were things that they missed from the book that make the characters seem better than they are, and that kind of pulled me out of it. There are a few things that I was like, why'd they take that out of the book? Like, are you trying to make this person seem like they're not an asshole? But maybe that's just me. In 53rd, I have Beetlejuice. Definitely didn't like it as much as I wanted to, but a fine movie. It's, it's funny. I really like the chapel singing number. It was really fun. I think Michael Keaton is just perfect as Beetlejuice. He still has it in him. It's a nice movie. It's fine. It's good. In 52nd, I have Boy Kills World, a movie that not a lot of people talked about. It's kind of crazy. It's just an action-packed movie, another Bill Skarsgård movie. It's just violent. It's action-packed. It has really nice choreography. Not the greatest story, but, for an action movie, it was pretty fun. In 51st, I have Terrifier 3. I was not a fan of it when I first watched it. Then I rewatched it, and I was like, you know what? I do like this. I do like this more than I did the first watch. Still don't think it's anywhere near as good as Terrifier 2, but I like these kind of movies. I like just the character of Art the Clown. I'm excited for Terrifier 4 and where this character is going to end and how it's going to end. I really like the ending of Terrifier 3. I think it was emotional, and I think it was pretty moving, but I'm excited. I like this one. A very cute movie that wasn't talked about a whole lot is Ordinary Angels. It's a true story, and it's just a really nice movie about people coming together to help other people. And it's beautiful. It's a really nice movie. It's one that definitely went under a lot of people's radars, but good acting, good story, emotional. Just, it's a good movie. In 49th, I have Woman of the Hour, the Anna Kendrick directorial debut. Really creepy. The way this movie opens up is awesome. I mean, not awesome in the sense where it's like it's awesome, but it's just like, wow. The way Anna Kendrick directed the scenes in this movie just made it so creepy and feels so real. Woman of the Hour, although it's not, anything outstanding, it is a good movie. And I think Anna Kendrick did a great job. In 48th place, I have Kinds of Kindness. It's a good movie. It's not my cup of tea. Just some moments were just making me uncomfortable. And I mean, it's just like, movies are, subjective, and that, they're supposed to. But just like, I think Jesse Plemons is great in this movie. He got nominated for a Golden Globe, which I was not expecting, so that's pretty cool. But Kinds of Kindness is, it's kind of good. In 47th, I have Sonic 3, one of the more recent watches of mine. I love this. I really like this movie. It was fun. I love Shadow. Shadow is my favorite Sonic character, and I think Keanu Reeves did a great job bringing him to life. And Jim Carrey's awesome. I mean, seriously, Jim Carrey could get an Oscar nomination for his performance. He's not going to, but he is just so good. Like, he's just so good. He just has comedic timing down to a T, and he is just such a funny dude. I love Jim Carrey. Love this movie. In 46th, I have Challengers. Challengers is a good movie. I don't like it nearly as much as a lot of people do, and I definitely have it way lower on this list than, a lot of people do, but I still think Challengers is a good movie. I'm not obsessing over it like a lot of people, but maybe on a rewatch I'll like it more, but I thought it was just a fine movie. In 45th, I have Arthur the King, another underrated movie. It's a dog movie. I mean, it's about this dog that has just magically pops up while these people are on their hike and they're while they're doing their challenges, and it's just like, this is adorable. And we feel bad for the dog. Like, who doesn't like a dog movie? 44th, I have Turtles All the Way Down, a movie that tackles OCD and anxiety disorder very well. Good movie. I enjoyed it. In 43rd, a movie that really shocked me as it being a good movie is Speak No Evil. I was not expecting this movie to be as good as it was. I mean, it wasn't fantastic, but I had a good time with it. There were some great performances. I mean, it was pretty horrific and pretty scary. But yeah, I just had a good time with it. In 42nd, I have If, the new John Krasinski directed and written film that a lot of people didn't like. I thought it was cute. It's a kid's movie. It's a movie about imaginary friends. And I think it's beautiful. I mean, it's about, as we get older, we tend to forget that part of ourselves, but what we shouldn't forget is that it is going to always be there with us, and it's never going to leave us. We just got to remember how to come back to it. And I think it's good. I think it was a good movie. It's cute. In 41st, I have The Fall Guy. Love Ryan Gosling. This was a really fun movie. I think it was very action-packed, very nice. Aaron Taylor Johnson has been in so many movies this year. Holy moly. In 40th, I have Gladiator 2. Don't know why Gladiator 2 needed to be made. It didn't need to be made. I mean, Gladiator, the first one, is just a masterpiece. Gladiator 2 doesn't even come close to what Gladiator did. And for the most part, Gladiator 2 was actually kind of disappointing. I was expecting a lot more from it, but overall, it did have a fine story. I was intrigued, but nothing to go home and be like, I just saw Gladiator 2. Like, it doesn't have that, like, oomph that Gladiator did. In 39th, I have Blink Twice. So surprising. I remember watching this trailer and I was just like, this is just not gonna be good. And then I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, the relativity of this movie is crazy. In 38th, I have Saturday Night. I was expecting this to be a masterpiece. It was not, but doesn't mean that it wasn't good. This was a really good movie. And I left it wishing that we had seen more of the actual SNL skits done by the actors portraying the people from SNL. And I was a little bit bummed that I was like, we didn't get that. But then I realized that this isn't about the skits. This is about the craziness that it was airing the first episode of Saturday Night Live. And the ending is actually pretty perfect for the story that it was trying to tell. At 37th, I have Adam Sandler, Love You. This is definitely the most different movie on this list because it's not a movie per se. It's a stand-up comedy show, but it's directed by, I think, Josh Safdie and one of the Safdie brothers. And it's so interesting because it opens up like a movie. Like Adam Sandler's playing himself. He's like walking in, being stopped by like the paparazzi and his fans, and he's being put into his comedy special, and then throughout the comedy special, just everything bad that could happen just continuously happens, and it's just a funny movie. It was a good comedy special. In 36th, I have The First Omen. Did not expect to like this as much as I did. Crazy movie. Don't have much to say about it. Just a good movie. 35th, I have Love Me. Now, this movie is still not available for people to watch, but it was very interesting to watch in theaters during Sundance. I saw it during Sundance, and it's a really interesting movie. I mean, it's not really surprising that like distributors haven't picked it up yet because it's so different. Like, for the first like 30 minutes, we just are like, we see this buoy and this satellite in the sky talking to each other. And it's about like the end of the world, and it's about like rediscovering life, and it's very interesting. I can't wait to rewatch it because like I remember watching it for the first time and I was just like, this is great. Like the acting at the end of it was awesome. Like not talked about as much as it should be, but fair that it's not being talked about because it hasn't been released in theaters. At 34th, I have Heretic. A lot of people were pissed at me for calling it Heretic in my review for it, but oops, a religious horror movie that is super, super intense. And it was crazy. In 33rd, I have Trap. A lot of people hate this movie. I personally really, really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was super entertaining. I think that Josh Hartnett's acting just makes so much sense for the movie that it is. I don't think he put in a bad performance. I just think he put in a very like authentic and different performance. I just think I had so much fun with this movie. I really liked it a lot. In 32nd, I have A Quiet Place Day One. A lot of people aren't really a fan of this movie, but I was. I thought it was a pretty damn good movie. And I love Michael Sarnowski, the director and writer. I really do like him. He directed Pig, which is like one of my favorite, most recent movies, and I've actually had conversations with him before, just on Instagram, and talking to him about, like, you know, his movies and, you know, his career and just how much I love his work, and he's just a really nice guy to talk to. Like, just a really nice guy to talk to. I like this movie. 31st, I have Your Monster. This movie is so underrated, so fun. It's like Beauty and the Beast meets Modern World, and it's just fun. In 30th, I have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Definitely the weakest out of all of them, but still a very entertaining movie. I love post-apocalyptic kind of movies, and this definitely gave us that. In 29th, I have Juror Number 2, the new Clint Eastwood directed film. He is 94 frickin' years old. That is amazing. It sucks that this only got released in 50 theaters around the world. That is so offensive towards him. And it sucks that now it's only streaming and we can't go see it in theaters. So this movie's great. It's underrated. I wish we could have seen it in theaters. In 28th, I have A Real Pain. Kieran Culkin is fantastic in it. He's going to be getting an Oscar nomination for it. And honestly, he could genuinely win Best Supporting Actor. But A Real Pain is great. I think Jesse Eisenberg did a fantastic job directing and writing. It was just a really sweet and just honest movie. Real movie. A Real Pain. It's about real pain. 27th, I have Better Man. Oh man, this movie is fun. This is a fun movie. I really liked Better Man. I didn't really know who Robbie Williams was before it. I did know of him, but not as much as I do now since the movie is out. But it's so fun. Directed by the same guy that directed The Greatest Showman, and you really see that inspiration in this. And it's just one of the most original biopics that I've seen. It was so entertaining. I loved it. And the music was great. The numbers were awesome. It was just really good movie. I had a great time with it. In 27th, I have Rebel Ridge, a slower movie, but oh my gosh, that third act cooked so hard. So fun, so action-packed, so badass. I mean, it's just a really, really good movie. 26, I have Twisters. Not technically a sequel to the first Twister movie, which I found out after watching it. I was like, man, these really don't have any sort of connections at all. And I think I saw it 3 times. And every single time it just got better and better. Twisters is a really fun movie. It's just, and it doesn't, it doesn't stick to the tropes of, ending the movie with the characters having to kiss or have to get into a relationship. It's just, they're in love with the work. They're in love with fighting tornadoes. That's what they're in love with, not people. It's just a good movie. 25th, I have Monkey Man. Oh my gosh, this is a badass movie. Great action, a really nice story. Just so good. Dev Patel, the man you are. This is a directorial debut, and that's insane. In 24th, I have Love Lies Bleeding. This was a powerhouse of a movie. Oh my gosh. It was so fun. In 23rd, I have A Different Man. Super underrated. I think this movie is amazing. I love it. Sebastian Stan is awesome. There's a great story. It's emotional. It's scary. It's not your average horror movie, and I think it's awesome. In 21st, I have The Bike Riders. I just really like this movie. In 20th, I have I Saw the TV Glow. I've seen it a couple times, and it's just a very... It's very different, and I can't explain how emotional it is, but it's just the idea of nostalgia and how when we're kids we see things more for what it is, and then once we get older we understand that it wasn't as bad as we made it out to be. And it just really makes you think about, the times that we were when we were a kid. And it's just a really good movie. Great cinematography, great performances, just a really, really good movie. In 19th, I have Wicked. Wow, Wicked was great. I can't wait for part 2. I think that Wicked was really, really nice. You sticking with me? We have 18 more movies, so just stick around. We got it. In 18th place, I have Smile 2, one of the most surprising movies of the year. I mean, I just did not expect this movie to be as good as it was. The trailer did not do it for me. I thought it looked very weird. I thought it looked very cringy because it was trying so much to be similar to the first movie, but also better. And I didn't think we needed a sequel. And then I watched it and I was just like, this is awesome. The opening sequence is one of the most impressive things that I've seen this year. The continuous one take so entertaining. Smile 2 is great. In 17th place, I have Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus is awesome. I actually got to see this in 4DX, and it's the only movie I've ever seen in 4DX. And even though it was pretty distracting being thrown around in my seat, Alien Romulus is still a really, really, really good movie. Great cinematography, great set pieces. The practical effects are fabulous. Really good movie. In 16th, I have The Substance. This isn't typically a movie that I would want to watch, but this one was awesome. In 15th, I have Hitman. A very, very, very fun movie. Very good acting, a good story, good writing, just a very entertaining movie. In 14th, I have Late Night with the Devil. I really enjoyed this movie. It does have some AI usage, but not a lot. And I think a lot of people were really overreacting when it came to it. You know, obviously they still didn't need to do the AI, but I really enjoyed this horror movie. In 13th, I have Transformers 1, another very surprising movie. I was not expecting this to be as good as it was, but it's genuinely like the best Transformer movie ever. It's so fun. Ending is great. The voice acting is awesome. It just worked. In 13th, I have Deadpool and Wolverine. I know a lot of people are probably going to be annoyed that I have it this high, but I love Deadpool and Wolverine. It's a personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased, but I think Deadpool and Wolverine is great. I really had a good time with it. And yeah, that's where it's at on this list. In 11th, I have Longlegs. Not your typical horror movie again, but it's awesome. Nicolas Cage is great. And just, it's a good movie. In 10th, I have Nosferatu. This movie is awesome. Great cinematography, great soundtrack, good acting, not good acting, fantastic acting. And just Robert Eggers has really just done such a good job crafting his own like existentially gothic genre of horror. And it's awesome. I got the numbers mixed up a little bit. So this next one is number 8, actually, not 9, but let's move on. In 8th, I have Dee Dee, emotionally moving. If you liked mid-90s, you will like this movie a lot. In 7th, I have We Live in Time. Again, another emotionally moving movie, great performances, great chemistry with Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. Just a very nice movie. In 6th, I have Inside Out 2. It's not as good as the first Inside Out movie, but it's still fantastic, and I really loved what they did with the story. In 5th, I have Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2 is awesome, beautiful. Maybe one of the greatest feats in filmmaking history. In 4th, I have Civil War, another controversial pick. I just love Civil War so much. I remember seeing it in the theater for the first time and was just blown away. Sound Design is awesome. It's a loud movie. It's an action movie. I was not expecting it to be an action movie, and that last third act is intense. It's awesome. I love this movie. In 3rd, I have Conclave, a slower movie, but I am into those slow burning movies. There's some great performances here, and just it's a great movie. In 2nd, I have Anora. Anora is a masterpiece. Anora is fantastic. Mikey Madison is a star. She's great. But my number 1 favorite movie of this year is Sing Sing. Sing Sing moved me to my core, and I can't wait to rewatch it. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I appreciate every single one of you. Remember, if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe if you like these kind of videos. But that brings you to the end of this video. I appreciate every single one of you. And remember, your movie moment is right around the corner. See you in the next video.